I'm here with Alex Kikel, the prep coach. And I know many of you have heard of him, but many of you just know him because he's one of the top health coaches, trainers, chemists in the world, working with some extraordinary people and really helping them with peak performance. But what you don't know is that he has an extraordinary way of thinking, and he actually uses a lot of beautiful thought processes and spirituality and energy in everything that he does. And he has a tremendous soul. And I always like to talk to people who are changing the world one person at a time, health practitioners that really are in tune with how the mind and the spirituality and the energy affects everything we do to improve our health. So I want to introduce you to Alex for those of you who don't know him or other parts of him that you might not know. So please, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. What was that miracle that shifted your life? Let's start with that.
The miracle was actually getting a concussion. Got a concussion at the time. It was, high school lacrosse. I thought that was gonna be my life and everything. Concussion, couldn't walk, couldn't talk for 6 months. And that literally put me on track for everything for the rest of my life. Something that was an inherent negative, you see in perspective, was one of the biggest positives of my life.
That's beautiful. One of the things you've talked about is how you turn negatives into positives. What was the word that you used? Reset or
Pivot.
Pivot, that's the word. And I'd love to learn more about how you use that pivoting in your life and with your clients.
I think really two big ways, right? So you have to have your priorities every day. So if you don't have your priorities, it doesn't really matter. So the priorities to me are always family first, work second, and kind of everything else. And so if you can get good at shifting those, but always keeping and knowing what your number one priority is, makes it simple. Because if you have kids, they're going to get sick. And that's going to throw your whole day off. You could take that as a negative, or if you're like, no, this is a positive, they're my number one priority, I shift the day around them. You pivot, and then, okay, I have 6 hours left in the day. Am I going to train? Am I going to eat? Or am I going to work? I'm probably just going to work because that's my second priority. So maybe for that day, you're not getting your meals in, you're not training, but you're not going to remember that the next day or a week later because that's just not the priority. Mm-hmm. So if you can shift those priorities day to day, it helps a lot, number one. And then number two, if you can automatically turn any negative into a positive. So if a negative thing would happen to me right now, I would literally verbalize out loud something positive about it. Because even if you don't believe it, and it's hard to do whenever you're frustrated or mad, like the other day actually, so I was getting ready to leave to come here. I got out of the shower. We have that new dog, stepped in a big pile of poop. As soon as I got out of the shower, I'm like, okay, whatever. I clean up, no big deal. I walk outside into the family room, another pile of poop, step in it, clean it up. Walk over, step in a pile of pee. It was like one thing after another. Instead of getting frustrated, I go, you know what? This is just preparing me to not, have any issues with patients when I travel, because airplanes never on time or this happens and it's all good. It's a positive. So you say that out loud, you verbalize it. It's now not a negative, it's a positive. You change that energy and then now you can go about the rest of your day. So it's having those priorities to be able to pivot and shift, and then being able to always verbalize positive out of any negative, because then it's not really negative.
I love that because I feel like that's almost a way to shift your thinking as well, right? About all of the situations in your life. I know that you've talked about for you that family is number one, and then work, and then everything else, and those priorities that you just mentioned. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about how did you come to that conclusion? Was there a point in your life where you said, hey, you know what? The most important thing is my family because maybe that's my vessel, that's my cocoon, or how did that happen for you? Because that's very unique and a lot of people don't do that these days. And it still is really important to have that beautiful family unit when you can.
When I was young, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I knew I wanted to be a dad and a husband. Like I knew that those were always two things I wanted to be. I didn't know what my career was going to be. I just wanted to be happy and do those two things. And so like for me, it was kind of always part of me. And growing up, at least like with my parents and siblings, like I was always one kind of held everyone together. So it was just kind of natural for me to be like that person, and then once I had the wife and had the kid, then you realize how good they are and how they deserve the best of you. And like, honestly, they're the only reason why I'm anything today, because like I wanted to get better for them because they deserved a better dad. My wife deserved a better husband. It's not just getting good at what you really want to be good at. It's getting good at all the things you're bad at. So it could be something as simple as not fixing things. I'm not a fixer. I'm bad with technology, but I'm trying to get better at that just because my wife deserves someone who could change a light bulb or fix a computer. And it sounds like so minimal, but like, I'm so bad at those. And then every decision I make in a day is trying to be a better person, because whether my kids or my wife would know that, what decision was made, I would know that. And I want them to really see me as just the best human or whatever that I could ever be. That's really how I dictate a lot of my decisions. It's what would I always say, like, what would a great man do? Or what would a great person do? Or how can I be the best I can be? Not just to fuel for them, but they start realizing reality and humanity. And it gets to the point where now I feel like I cry all the time because my kids change that emotional side of me so much, all for the better. But it makes you want to just not be better for the family unit, but for literally the entire human race. And that's where like the past year or two has really been going for me.
That's beautiful. I appreciate that. You are a beautiful example based on what you're saying now and our conversations previously of the beautiful dance of the divine masculine with the divine feminine. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that for you, because I know that you embrace both and that you've really been able to use tools, spiritual tools, mindset tools to have the extraordinary success that you have, because you are very blessed with tremendous success, not only for your actual science, intelligence, and skills and experience, but there's a place where there's people that have that and do not achieve the type of success that you have achieved at such an extraordinary level. And I know that a lot of this has to do also with that extraordinary mind that you have and that mindset and the intention. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the tools that you use, which I know you've already talked about some of them, but I know that that mindset and is just very important for you.
It is. And we'll start with the first thing of the day, right? You get up, first thing you usually turn your alarm off, right? I think just from like a tool mantra based aspect, the first thing I think, I tell all my clients, I tell everyone to do this before you get out of bed. So you got to turn your alarm off first, right? Because that's annoying. First thing you got to think though is everything in life's an opportunity. Because if you just start off your day with that right positive affirmation, remember all this energy stuff, everyone portrays it the wrong way. It's all just based on that whole quantum energy, quantum entanglement, how we are all just connected. We're all involved. It's really explained by quantum physics. You look at quantum biology, it's no different. It's just what's happening in our own self and our own unit. So if we can change that vibratory oscillation of ourselves, then we are eventually going to be more coherent with others. You're going to start attracting that positive energy. And you can see that if you are just a more positive, happy person, watch, go down the street, everyone's going to start smiling at you. You're smiling back. You ask people about your day, you say, oh, I love your beautiful hair. Like people smile, they feel that energy. Versus if you're the negative person portraying that vibrational spin, whatever word you want to put there, you're going to only attract that negativity. So it really truly is from like a tools aspect. I think like those mantras, it's just training yourself because these are all skills. Like I wasn't a naturally smart person. I wasn't a naturally positive person. Like I just wasn't. They were all skills that I wanted to learn and I worked at them. So I think the mantras of all the tools out there are probably some of the biggest ones because it's that positive affirmation. You do it so many times, you just develop a new skill.
That's beautiful and so important. And then the other thing that I'd love for you to talk about is how you notice the difference in the people that you work with in their healing process or their improvements, whether because you work with all kinds of people, not people just in the fitness industry or athletic industry, but also people that want to improve their brain cognition, that have medical issues that doctors have told them they cannot heal. And you have been able to help them heal that with, of course, all of your knowledge. Again, where do you see this part of the mindset and the intention and the beautiful mantras coming in? Have you seen a difference in how rapidly people heal depending on their mindset?
Massively. And it sounds lame, but if anyone's ever messaged me or emailed me, if it's an email, it's in bold because I just like that. You know, Instagram, you can't do that, but there's always going to be some caps in there, some smiley faces, some exclamation points, because that's how I feel day to day. I'm so happy. I'm so positive. I just always type that way, not knowing that indirectly on the other line, it makes that person smile. I've had so many people literally that are going through whatever problem, a health problem, a life problem, and them just getting an email, they will reply back and they'll say, as soon as I get your emails, I smile, my day's better. Just the way that you portray yourself and convey yourself, even in text, people can feel that. And so I feel like that aspect of the healing side of things is really just you bleeding yourself energetically through the screen, and that person picking up on that. And again, you can tell that, go on social media. If someone says a bad thing about your hair, your eyes, your nails, or whatever, you're going to feel bad. Like most people can't just disassociate from that. Versus some would say, you look beautiful today, or you're such a great soul, whatever, that you feel that positivity, even though it's coming through a screen. So I think in that whole spectrum of healing on the energetic side of things, it's just a lot of that. It's being who I am and just like letting it kind of all be out there. Like, hey, this is me. Like, I'm super happy. I'm super positive. I hope your day's going great. Guess what I did this week? Like, it's a whole long conversation because it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be fun.
I love that. That's beautiful. What would you advise someone who is just starting out in their healing journey? that maybe have not had the best diet in their life or paid attention to it, that maybe come from traumatic experiences in their life, that have hit that moment in their life that they say, hey, you know what? It's time for me to make that shift. It's time for me to pivot. And they don't know where to start. Can you give like a few steps where you would say, start with this, do this next, do this next?
You're gonna like this. So before you even go down the training nutritional route, look at some of the deficiencies our society has. The big one's infrared light. So you don't have to go out and buy a red light model infrared unit. Get sun exposure, that full spectrum work, and get outside and start grounding. As basic as that sounds, all the ground is doing is donating electrons to our body. So you fix those unpaired electrons so you can pull out inflammation. And if you look at your feet, the reason why like you'll take your socks off and they stink, right? Is because those pores are so big. So one of the things that's going on is you're literally detoxing through the bottom of your feet, pulling it down into the earth. That's why the grounding earth, whatever you want to call it, is so beneficial for multiple reasons. Those are kind of the two big ones. So just by you going outside barefoot, walking in the sun, and also I like practicing gratitude outside in nature. Literally go outside and just take a walk through the grass and just listen to every bird, every squirrel. Like whenever I walk through my neighborhood, I see how awesome the deer are. There's this one couple of squirrels. They're just always going at it in this one tree. Always smile when I walk past because they're just happy as can be up there. You know, it's like those little things that you can just smile and appreciate because it's just everything's so much bigger than us. And if you can remember that, then all of a sudden your days and your problems really don't seem that bad. You know, you got whatever, fired from work. There's going to be another job. Not that big a deal. Or it's still going to spin. You know, I think getting outside is one of the biggest first steps from there because then people can start finding themselves and finding their happiness. And then to me, everything else can start to follow with the health because if you're not happy or at least you don't have a goal of happiness, then you don't like, who cares? If you're not going to work to that end result of happiness, doesn't matter what that end result really is.
I absolutely love that. And you said I was going to love it. And I absolutely do love it. And I totally agree. And I love that you're able to give people tools that are free, number one. Even I believe, and you probably know more about this than I do, that if you go outside, even if you can't see the sun, there is some of that infrared there still, right? Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you will always, so infrared light will penetrate through like, again, if it's going through your skin, through the bone, in the mitochondria, if you have like 7 jackets on, it's still getting through. If your eyes are seeing it, it's still getting through. If you are in a green-based environment, so lots of trees, kind of lush areas, you're actually going to get a double effect because the infrared light is going to actually bang off there. It's going to actually accumulate and then basically traverse your skin even faster, even watch you more efficiently. So if you're in a more green-based environment, you'll get even more infrared exposure because of what's happening and how things are actually potentiating each other.
That's amazing. Would there be anything that you would say people would highly benefit from actually removing from their life, whether it's certain attitudes or foods or toxins? Are there some very simple things that are easy ones that you see a lot of people have in their life that they can easily shift and remove?
I think water's the biggest one, right? Because if we look at how it's heavily pressurized in our society, to me, all the water is awesome. If it's deuterium depleted, if it's hydrogen water, if it's structured, if you can do so many different things to water, you can literally program it to different actions. If you have like the right models and devices and things like that, you don't have the spin of the actual atoms in the water. Like to me, they're all awesome. I don't think one's better than the other. I think they'll have their place and purpose. So I think first correcting your water is one of the most important things because basic cellular signaling, it's kind of all based around water. Like water and fascia in the body. It's like the two connection systems that basically carry all this information. So I think water probably was how we're seeing our society go. I think water is a big part of that.
That's really refreshing to hear because I think you're right. There's a lot of issues with water and I do find it, even for myself, confusing, like which water should I get? I was doing RO for years and years, and then I was told, wait a minute, you're stripping the water of everything.
And that's not bad though. Like to me, that's one step because we don't want extra pollutants in our water, but at the same time, then it's also then just empty. So we're trying to either structure it and have it more of an actual living essence. Like water is supposed to be in nature when it's found. The deuterium in water in nature isn't bad because as it's going through the rocks, it's having that left and right spin. It's pulling those hydrogens, oxygens apart, connection, charge, back together based thing. The deuterium in nature is living its full life cycle. So by the time it gets to the bottom of the actual mountain, it's not deuterium anymore. Like periodic table wise, it looks like it's deuterium is going to be hydrogens. These things are going to be so stagnant. They're not. They're always evolving and changing. That's what life and that's what biology is all about. And so deuterium in and of itself isn't bad. It's in our society how the deuterium is presented to us. So altering the spin of the deuterium or just removing it altogether and have less mitochondrial problems. But to me, again, there's no one is better than the other. I think they all have their place and purpose.
Is there something that people can do at home to restructure manufacture their water, even if it requires some investment? What would you
Yeah.
recommend?
I love Natural Action. You have little portable units, they have sink units, they have all that kind of fun stuff. And again, what we're looking at there, because they have some really cool technology with hexagonal spheres, but we won't get into that now. The biggest thing is, again, looking at how water is going through rocks in nature. If you actually look at water under a dark microscope, again, it's not like H2O here, H2O there. It's big bands of H's and big bands of O's, kind of like a reef. And it looks really beautiful and gorgeous. And in nature, again, it is, we'll say, fully charged, for lack of a better word, because it's spinning over the rocks, it's pulling apart, and then hydrolyzed are trying to get back together. Versus heavily pressurized, they're just kind of there. They're just kind of the somatic partners. And then that affects how our mitochondria releases melatonin. And then throughout the day, melatonin release from mitochondria is another reason why I think a lot of people have cancers. Because what does melatonin do very good? If melatonin levels are high, tumor genesis, tumor growth doesn't happen. Just another kind of tangent to go down that's also affected by that mitochondrial melatonin interaction. So it's kind of like light and water, fix the basics first, and then you can kind of move to the next stuff.
Light and water, that's amazing. And then since we're talking about light and water, I feel like we're in the elements, right, as well. Do you have any practice, like a meditation practice, a breathing practice, or just a mindset practice? I know you mentioned that first thing in the morning, you
Yep.
would do certain things. Are there some tips that you could give people?
Yeah. I think on the meditation side of things, no matter what your modality is, find it and stick with it. So we're trying to find how you can meditate best. So for me personally, it's post-workout. I have my Klofsky coil set up and I can get so parasympathetic. I can practice my gratitude for the day and then I can just completely zone out. Because the whole point of meditating is zero. No thought. You're meant to just be. Because how many times a day can you say you're like that? Like never. You're always thinking about the next thing. And it's cool, but you also need that downtime to just shut everything off. And it's a learned skill like everything else. You don't have to do it that way. I like post-workout because you're super sympathetic from training and then you're trying to get parasympathetic anyway. So it's kind of a good time to do any kind of meditating, deep belly breathing. I don't care so much though about one specific protocol. I more so want you to put yourself in an environment where you can be calm. You can be relaxed and you can learn to pull your breath rate down, pull your ventilation down, and just turn your mind off. That could be for certain people. Like for me now, I could do it in the family room of my house with kids yelling, dogs barking, because like that's my happy place. So like to me, that's where I can just get in my flow state. Other people might have to have dark room, quiet room, like whatever that means for you, 10 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day, anything is going to be better than none.
That's fantastic. You're a beautiful soul and a beautiful human, and what you do to help people is really impactful. And I know you do it with like the most amazing heart in the world. Where can people find you? I'd love for people to be able to keep in touch with you and keep hearing from you. By the way, on your Instagram page, I look forward to that every morning because Alex will get on there and he'll tell you what's going on and just say beautiful things that really are inspiring every day. You are an example of just being out there, just fully showing your heart to the world, showing who you are. And I really love that. So I want to make sure people can find you.
Again, you're way too kind. I appreciate you giving me way too many compliments. Theprepcoach.com and then Instagram is at Alex_KKEL. And then I have a YouTube channel. I think it's at Alex Kikel TPC. I've had to change that like tons of times, but I think it's those best places to find me.
Yes. And if you actually want to learn from a real expert about peptides and wellness, you must go to his YouTube page. It will be really hard for you to find anyone else with this much knowledge.